I don't know why the projector keeps shaking, but hopefully it won't make you dizzy. First thing I want to do is reveal our new RedBird logo. There it is. And you better like it because we worked really hard on it. We wanted to bring it back to RedBird. Nobody calls it Southwest Center Mall, as you know. We're not calling it RedBird Mall because it is not going to be a mall anymore. Everybody who reads the news knows that malls are dying, that big box department stores are dying, and that's not the wave of the future. But the name is RedBird. There will still be a lot of retail here, but it won't be a mall. So this is what we're calling it. So what I'm going to do is just give you a quick review of what we've accomplished to date, what our vision for the future is. But in summary, the vision from the very first day we got involved in this project was, is, and will be quality retail, dining, and entertainment for Southern Dallas families. This is a very different Southern Dallas project than the other ones that have gone on. You've had development in West Dallas, you've had development in North Oak Cliff, you've had development in the Cedars. Most of that development is about making those areas, trying to attract people who maybe haven't lived there in the past to come eat or live. And there's some good things about it, but it causes displacement. It causes a lot of gentrification. That is not what we're trying to do here. What we're trying to do is recognize the fact that there is an existing population of people here who want quality amenities, but are unable to get those in their own community. And so rather than trying to attract new people to the area, what we're trying to do is serve the people who are in the area, but who have to drive to Arlington, or North Park, or Cedar Hill, or wherever, to get a nice meal, see a movie, find a high quality apartment if you're 20 something professional or an empty nester and you don't want to mow a lawn anymore. So that's what we're trying to create here, and so that's what RedBird is going to be. Before I continue, I also want to join Councilmember Wilson in shouting out the police officers who man the community outreach center here at the mall. It has been such a fantastic event for the mall and for the community, and you guys do fantastic work, so thank you. Okay, so in past presentations, I've talked a lot about what the investment thesis is, and I think we're past that. Everybody, I think, understands what we're trying to accomplish here, what I just said. I want to talk about some of the accomplishments we've had in the 18 months since we've been on this road. So one of the biggest accomplishments so far is that we have assembled the parcel. So if you look at this picture, every color there represents a different owner. So one of the reasons why RedBird Mall has sat undeveloped for decades now is that it has been very, very difficult for a person or entity to get control of enough of the land to actually change what's going on here. So in early 2015, it was announced that Southwest Center Mall was for sale. Well, I think most people thought that meant all of this, but it didn't. It just meant the green. That is what Southwest Center Mall, that is what the owners of Southwest Center Mall were selling. The other colors were the anchors. Macy's, Sears, Burlington, the old Dillard's, the old JCPenney, and then all of the stuff around it is all the pad sites, the Golden Corral, the Motion Automotive, the Movie Trading Company, the Autolux, and every one of those pieces of property has a different owner. So the green part in the middle is about 28 acres. You can't do anything with that. You can't change the environment here if you don't control some entrances and if you don't have a lot of contiguous property. So we've spent the last 18 months assembling the parcel. That's now what is under one ownership. Okay? That is 78 contiguous acres of land. It's got land abutting Camp Wisdom. and Westmoreland, and 20, and even a little bit on 67. So it's not the whole thing, but it is more than enough to change the environment. So that is a major, major accomplishment that has not been done before. This was probably about, I don't know, 10 or 12 different transactions with different owners to convince them to sell so that we could consolidate this under one ownership and then implement a vision. So that is one of the reasons why you haven't seen much happen, is that we've been spending a lot of time just getting the parcel together. All right, so what have we announced since in the last few months? And some of this has already been talked about, but just to summarize, the first thing is we will be bringing a hotel to this development. It's going to be on an out parcel by I-20. It will be a Marriott Courtyard, and we're very, very excited about it because if you look around in this area, there's a lot of businesses, there's a lot of churches with conventions, there's a lot of families. If you're anything like me, you do not want your in-laws living with you when they're in town. They want them in a hotel. But there are very, very few hotels. So we found this was a real need, and we think this is going to be great. Marriott is a sign of quality. They're going to run a first-class operation, and they've also got a great prototype now that is a little less stodgy than the Marriott Courtyard that maybe we're used to seeing. So it'll have a cool factor. The deck. In the community meetings that we've done over the last 18 months, an incubator space has been a consistently articulated desire of the community. It was definitely not on my top 10 list of things I thought we'd do, but meeting after meeting, people would talk about the desire to have an incubator space. There's a lot of entrepreneurial spirit and activity and energy in this community, but people don't necessarily have the know-how or the resources to start their businesses, and there's incubators in other parts of the city. Now there's going to be an incubator space right here at RedBird. It is actually going to open, I think, sometime in the next month. We're meeting with them tomorrow to find out the exact opening date. It'll start out in an empty store on the second floor of the mall, and eventually will be moved into a more permanent office space. But that's going to be a great resource for the community. We are converting the entire second floor of this mall into office space. The second floor of the Macy's, the second floor above here in the mall, and the second floor at the Dillard's, office and medical. Those are also one of the things we kept hearing over and over again is jobs. We want more jobs in the community. I'm tired of driving to Frisco. I'm tired of driving to Allen. I don't want to drive to Plano. We've got a lot of very educated, good workforce here in the area, but very, very few really good white-collar jobs. So we are going to renovate those buildings, and we're pitching them to corporations as a place to put their back office. And I'm not talking about a call center necessarily. I'm talking about administration, legal, HR, accounting, good professional jobs. I don't think that we've evolved to the point yet where anyone's going to go put their CEO, I'm talking about a large company, put their CEO. That'll be in the next phase of development. But right now, there's no reason why we shouldn't have a really good white-collar job base here at RedBird. We've also heard a desire for medical. And so we're talking to a lot of different medical providers, major hospital systems who don't have a presence in Southern Dallas, or some who do have a presence in Southern Dallas but want to expand. And we think it would be a great community amenity to have more medical opportunities. And then there's a lot of small businesses in this area. There's a lot of people that need executive suites, lawyers, accountants, etc. And we were trying to create a very attractive place to office. In addition to things like the deck. We've hired Jones Lang LaSalle, which is a top-rated office brokerage firm, to market our office spaces. And then the most recent one is Starbucks. very, very few places around here to get a good cup of coffee. And we announced 2 weeks ago that a Starbucks is coming to RedBird. I'll show you when I show you the site map exactly where they're going to go. So this is a spectacular event, and I'll tell you why. In addition to the fact that there are churches all over the place here, and people would like to get a cup of coffee before church or on their way to work or just go have a place to sit in an environment. I office out of Starbucks half the time. Just a good place to get work done, have meetings. This is what's known as a community cafe. The community cafe program that Starbucks is rolling out nationwide is a Starbucks that is profitable. They are seeking to make money here. They believe that this will be a very profitable Starbucks. But they do 3 things that are different than a regular Starbucks, and they're all geared toward reinvesting in the community. Number 1, 50% of the contractors will be minority-owned businesses. Number 2, there will be a 500 square foot training facility within the store that will train young adults in customer service and give them a certification in Starbucks customer service, which is very highly regarded. And the third is, in the baked goods section of Starbucks, they will actually use the products of some local vendors. So in other ones around the country, some of them have been so successful that they've ended up distributing nationally. And that ends up being, someone making a lot of money. They used to maybe be baking out of their oven in their kitchen, and now all of a sudden they're a company they're hiring employees. So that's 3 ways that Starbucks is going to give back to this community, in addition to providing a place to get a cup of coffee. So we're really excited about these announcements. This is a picture of what it looks like today, and this is a picture of what we're trying to create. So let me walk you through what we're trying to do. Okay? So just to orient you, this is looking south. So this is Camp Wisdom. This is Westmoreland. Here's I-20, and 67 is over there. Now you'll recognize the Macy's by the arches. What we're planning on doing is putting a park. The officer talked earlier about how there weren't enough parks in this area. This is going to be a 1-acre park. We're actually considering how we might make it a little bigger, but this is going to be an area for people to play. And we want to surround that park with restaurants. One of the other things I heard over and over and over again in the community meetings is, when I want to get a nice sit-down meal, I'm sick of Papados. Love Papados, but I need somewhere else to go. So we're trying to bring in a good sit-down Mexican place, a good, just sit down. Doesn't necessarily have to be the fanciest restaurant, but a sit-down place. You can go on a date. You can go with your wife, your husband. You can have a business meeting in a pleasant environment. So that's what this is going to be. The first floor of the mall is all going to continue to be small shop retail. Sorry, it's shaking. I don't know what's going on. The second floor, as I talked about, will be office and medical. We are going to drive a street through here and a continuation of Pastor Bailey to go all the way from Camp Wisdom through the site over to Westmoreland, because we're trying to reinsert the grid, make it more walkable, more urban, more pleasant to be around. This is where the Starbucks is going to go, right at the entrance off of Camp Wisdom. It'll be a drive-through. Off of Westmoreland, we are working with a multifamily developer. I once made the mistake of saying that we were building apartments, and I think that people interpreted that differently than we mean it. When we say we're building apartments, what we're talking about are high-end, granite countertop, nice, upscale multifamily buildings, because there are a lot of millennials and empty nesters that have money and want to live in this community and are sick of their lawns, and there really is not very much, there's no product in this area that serves that need. And then finally, the hotel will be at the end of this street on I-20. So between this really pretty picture, which took a year and a half to develop, and actually causing this to happen, there's some ways to go. The first thing that you'll see dirt moving on is the Starbucks, because that is now a signed lease. We are working on finalizing plans, getting submissions into the city, talking to financing sources. You will see dirt moving on that project later this year, pardon me. It is scheduled to open in late spring of 2018. So that is happening. And I've already told them that they need to give free coffee to any police officers, just so you know. The next thing that's going to happen, we would like to have the Macy's building renovated next. It's currently empty, as you know. We are trying to move some of our tenants from the second floor down into the Macy's so that the second floor can be turned into office. Also, I neglected to mention, but you might have figured out from the street, we are going to be knocking down the mall from the food court over. So that part of the mall is going to go. And the reason simply is we want to have more streets, we want to have it more urban and walkable, and we just don't need that much retail space in this retail environment. This will be about 250,000 square feet of retail space. That's plenty. And so we decided to get rid of that part of the building. We are also talking to a dine-in movie theater to go right here. The other thing the community told us was we want a movie theater, but we don't necessarily want just any movie theater. We like a higher end experience, we want dine-in. So there's 3 or 4 of those concepts and we're in conversations with them. So that's just a sort of a flat version of what the site plan looks like. Now I'm going to just show you some of the conceptual drawings for what the inside will look like. The key thing about this, and this isn't really a public document, it's really more of an internal document of what we're going for, but what we're trying to create here is downtown Southern Dallas. We're trying to create a place where people can meet, where people live, where they work, where they grab coffee, where they see a movie, where they go shopping, just like a downtown. This is an image of how we're envisioning the Macy's. So we want to knock windows into the first floor so that there's better store frontage. And on the second floor, where there's going to be office, we want to put windows. Now, here's a place where I could use some feedback. I know that the mural, the Macy's mural, is something that is valued. There's one in the front and there's one in the side. And it has been our intention to preserve both of them. But the direction we're heading right now, unless we get a lot of negative feedback, is to not preserve the mural at the front of the Macy's, and rather to have 2 stories of glass. And the reason is that we're trying very hard to connect the park. We're trying very hard to connect the park to the center court. And we want there to be a lot of life, we want it to be open, and we also want the inside to feel like a continuation of the street. With the mural coming all the way down to 8 feet above the floor, it's really hard to create a bright, open environment. So I'll show you a picture in a second. So this is what is currently the main entrance. We're envisioning being, it's still an entrance to the mall, but also the primary office entrance. These are conceptual drawings. We may or may not be able to afford to have a tower quite that tall, but the idea that we're trying to convey is clean lines, glass, bright, high quality. This is what is currently the Macy's, and this is essentially a view standing in center court, looking down a new concourse we're going to create to outside the park. And you can see pretty well here why we would want to get rid of the mural. Because if you keep the mural, everything from here to here is white and dark. And all you can have is 8 feet of glass doors. So it's a completely different image. We want to have double height ceilings, lots of glass, with offices overlooking, and have it feel more like a street. And that is my last picture. So that's what we're trying to do. The question always is how much and when. The when is going to very much depend on when we can start filling up the buildings. We cannot afford just start renovating the buildings until we know we've got tenants. It's not financeable. So we are working very hard to fill up the first floor of the Macy's. We are working very hard to find the right office tenants. And when we have enough of the buildings filled up, we can do the Macy's, we can do the Dillards, we can do it in phases. Fill one up, renovate it. Fill the next one up, renovate it. So our hope is that this time next year, we are now talking about doing the Macy's because it's filled up. But where you're going to have to bear with us is on the timing, because the biggest challenge that we face is not the community and not our confidence that when there's something quality here, people will patronize it. The biggest challenge we face is that retailers are very risk averse and they view RedBird as risky. Why do they view it as risky? Lots of preconceived notions, lots of preconceived assumptions about this community, about communities of color, about Southern Dallas, all that. And so what Terrence and I are putting on our body armor and fighting through every day is making people stop, take the time, look at the numbers, do the analysis, and then muster the courage to go advocate inside their companies. I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but I think we should open a store at RedBird. It's beginning to happen. Having Starbucks come here, it's a small store, it's a big coup. All of a sudden, it's that much easier for somebody else to say, okay, they did it, I should take a look at it. And so it's really about getting the dominoes to fall. And that is a process where we just got to keep working, keep trying to run through the wall, and eventually the wall topples over. But I can't be more specific about the timing because that is completely out of our control. So